Okay, I guess I'm too. I don't know how close I'm going to be. Too close, maybe. I'm just trying to get it out of the sound. I want to make sure the sound was getting recorded, eh?
So I said, follow me. So I'm here.
That thing to make it pivot.
Okay, that's just to move it, eh? And then.
Yeah. There you go.
Guess that's it. I'm going to have to back up. I can't get it. I have to hold it then.
She'll be right back. I'm just going to get her something.
Oh, isn't it? No.
So when you were skipping places, your parents working? Yeah, mine taught and I found an article traced the history of the whole history of the middle school, and she was one of the real superstars. She was very interested in music, and I got the kids fireworks and theater and stuff. And mine was first Did you enjoy that? But what about the kid books? I mean, was it sort of what you thought it would be in terms of Well, I was picturing this cooperative, like you said, kind of small scale. So is it really a cooperative? It is. Yeah, okay.
Topics are not cast in stone, so if you want to reminisce and tell us anything, that's fine. We will have refreshments at around 3:30, and everyone can visit in the museum and chat with colleagues. Now, the one that we're going to be talking about, social, they want to talk about concerts or...
Christmas concerts.
Yes, yes. So if you want to get... Have you started yet?
Yeah.
Is it on? Okay.
Yes,
so,
it's on now. So I just wanted to make sure I got your introduction.
Okay.
You
and
want
now,
to do it again
why
just to
don't
make
we-
sure?
No, it's okay,
It's
dear.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, maybe we'll start with Christmas concerts then. So do you have any Christmas concert thing that happened that stands out in your mind? Or tell us how you would organize
Well,
it.
there were 4 teachers in our family. My oldest sister was struggling during the shortly after the war years to get this Christmas concert. It had to be just so. She took a heart attack while the concert was going on. She thought, if I can just get through the concert, but it left her an invalid. That isn't a funny thing, but that's when I think of Christmas concerts. I think if she just had stopped and got to the hospital in time.
The way most teachers do,
died.
they just push.
Yeah, and then she died at 53
Oh my goodness.
with her heart.
Oh, and when was this? What year do you remember?
And I lived at her place and took her children to school while she looked after my little one while my husband was in the army. So it would be just after the war years,
So right after 1945 then?
about that.
My goodness. Now, do you have any...
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yes, we've lots of other
Many memories of Christmas concerts, and you started about the first week of December and got everything lined up, and the last couple of weeks you did nothing else but practice. But anyway, I think the one that stands out in my mind the most was probably my first one, and of course you'd no stage. You had to make some kind of a stage and then get curtains, and I remember I brought these curtains from my mother and hung them up on a wire and pulled them across for the first act, and then pulled them back, and the next act pulled them across, and down they went. Everything. And it was lamps, it wasn't electricity, it was in the school at that time. So here were the curtains lying on the floor, and me and a young girl, and I hadn't put the steeple in right, that's why they fell. Some of the men in the community informed me afterwards that if I'd put it in a different way, it would have stayed out. So anyway, that was probably the most embarrassing event.
And you just went ahead?
Oh yes,
Just went ahead
they
with it,
came.
did you?
They came and put up the curtains for me. We went ahead with the concert, sure, but they were great. Christmas concerts were great.
And they were a wonderful educational tool.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And a drawing probably of the community, bringing the community together as
And,
well.
Well, it was a community at that time. You were part of the community, and
Very much.
Yeah, very much so. And I was just Mrs. W.L. James celebrated her 100th birthday this last weekend, and she played the organ for me all the time I was at James's school for the Christmas concerts. She was just reminding me of the time she was playing the organ and a mouse ran down, which was not uncommon.
No. And she's learned to deal with that.
You learn to deal with everything
I
in
guess.
rural school. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Now, interesting, one of the things that they mentioned in here was your place in the community. Now, did you board at different homes in?
Yes.
Because then the next thing that she was asking was about gentleman callers or boyfriend, and how
Yeah.
did you board in the community then?
Yes, I did.
Uh-huh.
Yes. My first and second school, I boarded in the community, and after that, I was married, so I lived at home.
Yes.
When you boarded it, you had to be pretty careful.
I bet you did.
You were part of the community, but when you went out, you usually went out. Like on Friday night and
Yes,
Saturday night
yes.
and weekend, you were gone from the community, and but, we were well warned in Teachers College. I often think of this, that we were well warned in Teachers College.
You were?
That, if we were going to be out drinking or whatever, not to do it in the community. to get out of your community for your party times.
Now, how old would you have been when you left Teachers College?
I was 18 in May when I started September, and Teachers College the next 3 summers.
Oh, I see. So you taught and then went to Teachers College in the summer.
First thing in Teachers College. Yes.
Oh, and
That was the way most people did.
Oh, was
in,
it?
In my,
Yes, but I was unfortunate. There were lots of teachers when I graduated, and there were 35 applications for my first school,
oh my goodness.
and that was for $500 a year.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, but there were a lot who never did get teaching. But
And what
in
was
the-
your first year?
in 1938,
1938. For $500 a year. My.
and then it gradually went up to 600. But the trustees watched the ratepayers' money. I mean, when you see the way they throw our tax dollars around now, and what it used to be,
Yes, you were careful what you did with
well,
money.
oh, do you remember what you paid for board?
I think I started out with it somewhere between $25 or $30 a month.
Well, you see, I paid 13.
Well,
But that was, well, $13 out of, you still had to pay superannuation, so it was $48 and some cents you got at the end of every month for 10 months. And then there was 3 months that you didn't get a check at all, like from the 1st of June to the end of September. And I can remember trying to take university work, and I by correspondence, and from Queen's, and I did all the assignments and was ready for the final exam, but I had to pay $10 for the final exam. But I only had $10, and I had to have a new dress for the fall. I used it for the dress, and I never did get trying the exam. So I didn't get credit for that.
no.
From Queen's University. I mean, they couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. My father had been killed in an accident the year before, so we had to buy a new car.
Well, there's only so many places the money can go.
That's right. And you certainly couldn't acquire any extra money. But I mean, I think that you could. I think I could have scrubbed floors for about the same remuneration.
As
think.
teaching.
Yes.
My.
But this was an advantage because you didn't teach unless you really enjoyed teaching.
Definitely.
People didn't go in for teaching because of the pay,
No, that's for sure.
you know. So
No,
it was
nor for the
that.
time off in the summer, especially if they were doing their teachers' college or taking and
I think I
taking courses.
spent several summers
Well, but
taking teachers college and education, and then there was special ed, and there was,
Oh.
all the different courses. So the summer was pretty well taken up with
but we had to
going off
take
to school.
we had to have grade 13 subjects, and then we only got our certificate. We had to go a full year to teachers college then. Then we got our certificate only for 5 years if we didn't take more university subjects.
Right.
So then they had to lower that because the
Oh, yes.
teachers just went in
Oh.
for everything else, only teaching, you know.
So what you're hearing
So-
now about them bringing back that they're going to, teachers have to take more courses, and every 5 years they're going to have to take another test. That probably sounds like it's been around
Right.
before. They're not reinventing anything
No.
or reinventing the wheel. Now, something else Claudia wanted us to ask you about was traveling to school. How did you get there? Well, firstly, how did you get there? Were you right in the community that you could walk,
I was
or
right in
did you
the
go?
community, so I walked to school.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Did you do the same thing? Or did you go by cart? Or?
I was 5 miles from home. Mostly I boarded, but if my brother needed help, I drove. I just learned to drive in order to teach. And the very first day of school, when I turned into the school, I hit the gate post. But there wasn't one of those children laughed at me, you know. I really thought they deserved a medal for not laughing, because I was just pretty jittery. And
Right.
then,
Right.
My goodness, I guess you would be.
Oh,
but
yes.
I drove, and my brother and I had to buy this car between us because, as I said, our car and our dad have been killed, and so we bought the car between us. It was a DeSoto. It had two wheels on the running board, two spare tires, and often we needed the both of them. The tires were out. They were terrible. And of course, during the war years, you couldn't buy a tire. A tire was like a farmer could buy a tire, but a school teacher couldn't. So I had a real problem that way during the war years. I lived with my oldest sister and took her children to school, but I patched tires in my sleeve, I think.
Oh, did you really? Oh my goodness! And you missed that kind of
I
excitement.
missed that, yes.
Oh my
yes,
goodness!
I walked, the first 3 years I walked I was at James's school, I walked to school. And then the next year I was at Prestonville, and I was right next door almost at Prestonville, so it wasn't much of a walk. And then I married, and after that I drove. I learned to drive after I got married.
Oh, so then there wouldn't be any problem. You
There was
got-
well, I wouldn't say there wasn't any problem, but
no problem with the car or with transportation.
when we were talking about social events, it was quite a common occurrence for the teacher to be invited to the pupils' homes for the night. Sometimes just for the supper, and sometimes to spend the night. That wasn't unusual. In fact, it was more usual than unusual that
Yes.
you'd be invited through the year to each children's homes. So.
And what would be the reason they'd ask you to go and spend
Oh,
the
I
night?
think just
get
because
to
you're
know
in the community, you're in the community and you were part of it, and maybe there was other ulterior motives. I don't know. But
No, I found that
yeah.
they were really nice. Rural people in general, they're really nice people. You know.
Oh, yes.
And they were just being friendly, I
Yeah, I
thought.
think so. Yes, the rural, and the kids were just. I was saying to somebody the other day, in a rural school, you were just like one big family. You were sort of the mother, and the children were the pupils, and you ate your lunch together, you played together, you worked together,
And you refereed.
and you were there
ball
together all
games.
day from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock at night, and so.
Oh. Now, how did the children get to school? Did they come on a bus,
They
or
walked.
how did?
Oh, no,
they all
walked.
walked.
They walked.
So some of them would have quite a walk.
Oh
then.
yes, oh yes. I'm sure they did. Maybe, probably 2 miles. Some of them maybe,
Yeah,
maybe further.
the law
than that.
was that there had to be a school within 3 miles, just 3 miles. But that didn't hold for high school because Helen Shaw, who was just buried yesterday in Arm Prior, I lived exactly halfway between Pakenham and Arm Prior, and she and her sister walked. And that would be like 10 miles from Pakenham to Arm Prior, so she'd have had to walk at least 5 miles. But her mother had died with lockjaw, and she had to stay home until the littlest one was able to go to school. So she was older. I think it said she was in her 88th year in the obituary. But she was, as she walked, she was in the class like below me because she had had to stay at home for 3 years. But imagine, I think she should be written up as a super duper character to stay home until and look after the family. Well, she had a younger sister who helped, but looked after the family, and then she put herself through for a registered nurse.
Oh,
Well,
my
You know.
goodness.
Now she
after
never had
everyone
time
gone
to
out.
get married, but I thought that's really.
Those are the kind of things you don't hear very much about, eh?
Yeah. And to think like she was buried yesterday afternoon in Arm Prior.
Oh my goodness. Oh. Okay, now I think the last thing she's going to want us to talk about is rural school fairs. What was involved? What went on? Were you part of the fairs going on? Just explain how it was. And
we were part of the Middleville Fair, the first school I taught in. In fact, the only school, well, no, Ferguson's was the first school I taught in was James's school, and it was part of Middleville Fair. And so when you went back in September, the month of September was spent in writing and art and crafts, getting ready for the fair. And then
Getting weed
the
collections.
day of the fair, everything was judged, and the children were quite excited that they got some prizes.
Did they have marching? Did they line up?
Not at Middleville, but in my own school. Like when I was in the rural school, we went to Drummond Center for our school fair, and there was marching, and there was school yells and speaking contests. And but it was just a school fair. It wasn't part of the big fair.
It wouldn't be part of a 4-H, or it wouldn't.
No, that was just a school fair, and all the schools in Drummond Township got together at Drummond Center, and it was
Not a part of the
competition.
country fair where they had all the animals and everything.
And there was no animals. No, it was just a school
So
fair.
it would be your
Unless-
artwork, it would be all of that kind of thing, would it?
Our school yell and our.
Do you remember it?
Pardon?
Do you
no,
remember?
I don't remember that. No.
Ours
But
went.
You know yours?
1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4. Who for? What for? Who are you going to yell for? Pakenham. That's the way you spell it, and this is the way you yell it. Pakenham.
Well, good for you. That's
Wow.
I don't remember anything at all.
Wonderful.
That's a good memory, eh?
Oh, I could rhyme off about 4 or 5 of them that we had.
I was surprised you remembered God Save the Queen, all you people, because I sang that every day, too, there
Yes.
at the Ottawa
And
School.
we could have sung the second verse too. It would have been different, wouldn't it? If we had gone ahead and sung.
In
Did
French?
you have to learn the second verse too, did you?
Well,
Or
I
you
knew
just
it.
did?
I know it.
I think we sang it a lot. I don't remember
I remember singing it
particularly
too.
having to learn it. But
I don't
we
think I
did
could
sing
say
the
it
two
now, though.
verses a lot. Yeah. And of course, everything was so much different then. I mean, your Lord's Prayer and your Bible reading and your God Save the Queen. And
Now, is that
And
how
how
you
do you
started
not-
your day?
that
Yeah.
was the start of
And
the
you always
day.
had a Bible reading as well?
Oh yes, yes. The day started with Bible reading and the Lord's Prayer.
And we got
God
a-
Save the Queen.
We got a list from the department of what to read, you know. And actually, through the years, I was not a Bible reader, but actually through the years, when I finished reading the excerpt from the Bible, I think, you know what comes next, and just set it down, you know. And at recess or noon hour, I finished my curiosity,
Right.
and it gets you familiar, and it gets you that the Bible means a lot more to you that way.
Probably meant a lot more to the children as well than
Well,
they do now, because I think there's a lot of children maybe that don't. No, so we have to leave you now, but we did get through everything, so now you're going to stay here so you have time for a grape and a little bit of water, and I'm moving over to him. 35, and he's retired, so we're certainly interested in your story. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of the ideas out, and then if you have something to share and that you'd like to let everyone know and hear about, certainly Rich will record it on the tape, and then Claudia will have a chance to have a look at it later, and as we will as well. The area we're talking about is social, and so there's probably a number of stories with regards to concerts, fairs, social activities, maybe where you were teaching, something to do with gentlemen callers and things like that. There's a full realm of things that Claudia would like covered when we're talking. So we'll probably start on safe ground first. Maybe we'll go with the concerts first. So if you have anything that you'd like to share, we'll just go around. We'll start with school concerts, and maybe if it was happening in a certain year, if you can mention, if you don't know the exact year, you could certainly mention if it was the 30s or 40s, or just so that we have an idea of when it took place. Okay, so we'll start. You have something that you'd like to share with us?
Well, in 1943, I had my first school concert. I had 10 of them all together. And a lot of them, well, there were 3 of them, because of their religion, they couldn't be in a concert. So I got the young people in the section to come in, and we used to practice at night. And we had a lot of fun there, and we put on 4 dialogues that first year. And I had the lady I boarded with in the winter. She was a pianist, so I was really lucky. And the caretaker, he was also the secretary treasurer, and he acted as chairman at the concert, so we had a lot of fun.
Good for you. Now, when you put the concert on,
Yes.
it was also put on at night, so those other youngsters just didn't come? Is that how it worked?
Oh no, the parents, it was at night, and the parents came, and I remember they didn't have anything, so I bought them 5 coping saws and some lumber. My dad did that. And we made birdhouses. And we made a martin that was about this big. And we sold it for $50. Mel Ferguson, he was the one that auctioned it off for us because we needed things. There wasn't anything in the school to play with. No, I had 2 bats and 2 balls and 2 mitts because Jean and I had played for the Appleton Hurricanes and won the cup, didn't we, Jean?
Yep.
Yep.
And that's where you got your bats and balls, is it? Or?
Yep.
Oh my.
I bought some of them myself, and so then we bought all kinds of lumber and everything, and we made all kinds of things for a garden and all these wooden things, you know, that stood up and all of that. So the boys were very excited. They used to have trouble with the girls and the boys playing together, but nothing. When we had lots to do, when we played ball, that kept them quiet, and then when they were doing work, the girls painted, you see, and the boys cut the things out.
Oh, I see.
So,
So they all felt like they were part of it.
and another thing we did, they wanted to draw a picture for the first Mother's Day I taught. Well, I had a big bird book called Birds at Home. Maybe you saw all the blue jays and the cardinals and everything. So I bought pieces of glass, and they put them over the picture, and they painted them, you know. I took the book out of the book, I took that, and then we put it back, and then we framed it with tape, you see. And we had a piece of cardboard black at the back to show them up. And I saw one not very long ago in a house.
Oh, my goodness.
But
I
they
bet
were really
beautiful.
thrilled, and they said, "Do you see what we made?" And I said, "Yes." Well, that was a long time ago.
My goodness. Oh, that's wonderful. Do you have something that you'd like to share? Do you have a...
In the first year I taught, I had 12 boys and 1 girl. I kept the girl at school until I could see the boys going over the track so that they wouldn't be hard on her. We had a Christmas concert with 13 children. And my brothers and sisters, I come from a big family, and they came and they put on part of the program. And the school was overflowing. They had never had a concert in their lives.
No.
They hadn't?
The second school I was in, we went to the community hall. And just as the last ones were going out the door, the stovepipes fell, and they came right from the front to the back. Just missed them.
Goodness.
And at that first school, we had no fence around the school. And the teacher before me, now I got gray hair, teacher before me used to fall asleep at noon hour, and she didn't wake until 4. So the children used to go across the fields and have a great time. Well, they found it a little different when I arrived because I was awake.
Full day's work now. I thought you were going to say the cows were in the schoolyard. I had an experience of that.
No, they wanted to dump one of the children down the well too. And they had the run of it. But
That is good.
Oh, that's wonderful. Do you have a story you'd like to share about a concert?
Well, my first school I taught in was up north, North Bay in Sudbury. And 2 weeks before I went, I had 2 sisters drowned. They were both teachers. And it was the hardest thing I ever did to start teaching 2 weeks after my 2 sisters were drowned. And they were both teachers. One was teaching in the high school at Minden, and the other one was teaching in Trenton. And
Mom, do you remember your first Christmas concert at Warren?
well, we had one in the afternoon, and then I decided I'd want to get near home. And so I came home, and this girl was a neighbor girl, and she
Is Bernadette here?
had decided to get married
Yeah, we don't
in the
get
summer.
the
And
others.
she got married, and when she went to the inspector, he said no, she couldn't teach if she was married. So she sent me a note with her brother on the bicycle, because she said she was going to phone the other teachers that were on my line. And so my brother had the car at the door at 8 o'clock the next morning, and I went up, and they hired me, and I was there for 4 years.
So she went ahead and got married, did you?
Pardon?
Did she go ahead and get married?
Yes.
So then that was the
Well,
end
she
of her
was
teaching?
married. She was married.
And so that was the end of her teaching?
Yes. And there was a Halloween party. The first year I was up there. And the boy that was living there, here, there, and he had been married to somebody at Watson's Corners. And he decided to ask the young people from down where he was. And that's where I met my husband. And the young people from down there, now he lived between Alderson and Lanark. And so he came up and I met him that night. And we had a dance or two together, and then we're sitting on the stair steps. And he passed around tickets for supper. And I picked out a ticket for the girls.
They had one of the
And
other
when the
tables.
boys' tickets came around, he looked through it and made mine. And we never looked back from that night. I married him, and we were married for 60 years. But I didn't marry him for, I think it was 9 years, because I had to get I had a first-class certificate, and I had to get a year's university, and I studied it myself.
So when was it you got married? What year did you get married?
1940. Well, that was 1932.
Yes.
And so I was up there. I got to school at Kinburn the next year. Before I left, I told him I'd given him the first kiss when I promised to marry him. And he was always asking me for a kiss.
For 9 years.
And I thought if he was gone and I didn't see him anymore, I wouldn't be no good. So I decided to give him a kiss the next time I saw him. So he came the next night, and he took me into Lanark, and we had ice cream. There was an ice cream parlor then. We had ice cream in the ice cream parlor. And so when we went home, we were sitting in the car, and he asked me for a kiss, and I kissed him. And they turned the lights on and looked at me. Now it was 9 years before we were married, because I taught at Kinburn, and then I taught in the high school at Kinburn.
Now we know times have changed.
Pardon?
Now we know times have changed.
And so it was 9 years before. But I had promised to marry him before that. So my brother was an Anglican minister and he married us. And
That's a wonderful story. Oh my goodness.
and so he was a wonderful husband. I think if I had traveled the world, I couldn't have got a better man than he was. He was very gentle and kind, and we never once in our 60 years of marriage had a quarrel. So that was really something.
Absolutely, it was.
And
And he was a great support to you in teaching.
yes, he was.
Great.
And
And where do you live now?
I had no notion of going back until my brother was killed in an accident. And I thought if that had been George, I would have had to go. So I went back to teach, and I taught 3 years up in Aurora School. And then they were giving their teachers $100 more if they had 25 pupils, and I had 24. And my husband thought I should have got the $100 more. So he brought the Courier to me, and there was an ad in it for the Stewart School in Perth. And he said, now write an application for that. So I wrote the application, and I thought I'll put it in the wastebasket. And he said, give it to me and I'll post it. And they called me up and hired me, and I was there for 15 years.
When was that? Because that's right down the road from our cottage there. Yeah, of course it's probably a new school now, eh?
Yeah.
Where do you live now? They were just asking, where do you live now?
Just between Lanark and Balderson. And my husband took me to a really good farm. We were married. And when my parents came up, they had been used to going up the Watson's Corner Road. And they got quite a shock.
Yeah, you didn't get it.
Good. How are you?
You're facilitating.
They got quite a shock when they saw his place.
Oh, we can't.
He had
Give
a
us
lovely
5 more
farm.
minutes, because we have to move, because it's a bigger group. Just give us 5 more minutes so we can
Okay,
move
5
on.
minutes, your thing, and you ring the bell.
Okay, I'm not good at telling time. I'll go.
You
Okay,
have to
we'll just go
facilitate.
around to the next lady.
We don't move. He's facilitating.
Does she not hear?
Can you tell them about your Christmas concert? No? Did you have a Christmas concert?
yes, I had lots of Christmas concerts.
How many years did you teach?
Altogether, 35.
Yes.
And I don't like to talk about it.
Oh, you don't? So you're just going to enjoy the listening, are you? Okay, well, we'll come back.
Well, one of the highlights at Brook, where I started to teach, was Christmas concert. And I didn't realize just how much it was appreciated until it came, maybe into October. And I said something about what should we do for Halloween? Like, you know how the kids gather around your desk at noon hour and all this, and we were discussing this, and they said, well, it doesn't matter about Halloween. What are we going to do for Christmas? And I said, well, maybe we should get Halloween over first. But anyway, then I took appendicitis and was in the hospital where they were just having fits that we wouldn't be able to do a Christmas concert. Well, I had all these promises when I came back. You don't have to do any lifting or anything. We'll do everything if you just have this Christmas concert. So it was an old one-room school, and there was just a small platform at the front. And then, of course, you had to put curtains up and all this, you know. And then we used to, then about a year after, 2 years maybe, in the old school, then we had a brand new school. And that had a real stage, and all the kids thought that was super. But we used to have the young people from as you had said, they used to do a play. We'd have a play, and we had a 3-act play. And of course, the kids thought that was just super. So anyway, Christmas concerts were definitely a real highlight of the community. And the plays, of course, you'd see there were no lights in the first one, but they brought in coal oil lamps and gas lamps and all kinds of things. We had to have a night concert. Afternoon was no good.
Tremendous. Okay. Would you share your...
Well, I was in a 6-room school. I was principal there, but I also taught grade 8. And we had a very nice man as a music teacher named Dick Mills. Some will have remembered that name, Dick Mills.
And we said to him one year, how about us trying an operetta? We had some nice singers in our group. And he was all for it. And we had a teacher. No, we had an undertaker in the village. His name was George Young, and his wife was a great pianist and a former teacher. So he said, if you can get a nice pianist and get the hall, the town hall, that's the old town hall then, we'll set up an operetta. But we can't just run it one night. If we're going to all that work, we'll run it 2 to 3 nights. But anyway, we got it up piece by piece, and we found so many nice voices among the children, as you do. And he didn't mind spending extra time with them. And the pianist wouldn't mind spending extra time, and the kids loved it. And we had them for maybe, what, 4 or 5 years. We had 2-night operettas. But what the kids liked about it most of all, we were in the upstairs of the hall, of the town hall. And downstairs there was a jail cell, the only jail cell in Lanark. And the man who was the official of the town, police, whatever you want to call him, was a very nice fellow. But now and then he'd come down those days and he'd be kind of inebriated. So a couple or 3 of the children would get him by the arm and take him down and put him in the cell. There were lots of funny things that happened along with it, you know. And he didn't mind. He slept there till we came and let him out. Sometimes his wife would call to speak to Bill Trail.
Yeah.
And we'd say, well, we'll get him to you shortly. So we'd have to wake him up and get him talkable. There were lots of fun, and we had other little groups that we had one teacher, Gladys Ramsbottom, and she was an acrobat of one kind or another, and she taught all kinds of dancing with the children. They could you know, do Scottish dances. They could do almost any kind of dancing that she thought of. They could do. So we'd intersperse these beautiful dances, all costume, between the acts of the operettas. Oh, it brought the whole countryside, and it filled the town hall, and it was great. It was
Excellent experience for the youngsters and the families. That's wonderful.
It really, and a lot of nice singers among the children.
Wonderful. Okay, move along. Would you like to share a story? Or?
I was at Drummond Center between 54 and 55, but we didn't have a Christmas concert.
Oh, you didn't? Oh. Okay, well, we'll move to...
We had a Christmas concert back in 1953 at Blakeney School, which was a small school. The school is still there now. They changed it into a house, at least living there. But the school wasn't big enough for a Christmas concert, the size we thought we would need, and we went to a local church, and they let us use the church, and the church was crowded. That was 1953.
Now, do you have a memorable?
Yes.
Okay.
We didn't have very many pupils. I only had 12, and Union Hall didn't have very many. And so the 2 schools went together, and we would have to practice through the week before Christmas, so that was a lot of fun. And they had a hall at Union Hall, so that's where we had our Christmas concert.
Wonderful. Oh, that's
You
tremendous.
can do, eh?
Oh, this has been absolutely excellent. Thank you very much. I think I probably have the responsibility. We did a good job moving along. Now we can, does anybody know how to do this?
Yes,
actually?
and it was
Oh,
only
you
fun.
do. Okay. So as I said, we're going to talk about social. So I think we'll go with the Christmas concert idea first. So if you have your favorite idea, and we'll try to stick maybe around a minute or so as we go through, and then we'll talk about different topics after that. So do you have a favorite story you'd like to share about a
Christmas concert.
Yes.
Well, I know it was a great deal of work. You started practicing about the end of November, and of course you had to get all your work done first, and then you practiced for the Christmas concert, and it was always in the town hall, well, in the little village hall.
Yeah.
And this was a big event, you know, to be up on the stage in the little country hall. the whole community, the hall would be filled, like parents and grandparents and neighbors. It was a big event. And you felt a lot of pressure to have something worthwhile.
What kind of topics would you use?
Well, you had little plays and little monologues and recitations and singing.
Drills. Remember
Oh,
the
drills, yes, that's right.
What kind of
Yes.
drills would you have now?
Well, beat music and they'd march or form archers.
Yes. Like the mounted police.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yes.
Do you have a Christmas concert that stands out in your mind?
Oh, well, I was just thinking when I went to teach at Hopetown, we used the hall too for the Christmas concert, and 2 schools got together, so that was neat because we had real curtains and everything. But when I was in public school in the 30s, 40s, Mother would send a white sheet, and they were wire was put across the front of the classroom, and then large safety pins on the white sheets, and that's what you pulled for curtains. And so it was really up to date, and I taught in Hopetown when I worked at using the hall. So every day we would walk from the school up at the hall and get together with Bullis School, and put the 2 classrooms together, and we would have our concert, and then the women in the community would make sandwiches and cake, and we'd pass that around after Santa Claus, and then they would dance. Some of the people in the community would play their instruments and have a dance for the older people. The kids went home.
Oh, great idea.
It was a big time. You know,
I guess so. Good. Now, you had some.
Yes, I just remembered when I was thinking about coming here today, my first concert was in Blakeney, and we had it in the United Church with the platform at the front, and we went with Benny's Corners. And I had just come out of Teachers College with all these big ideas. And I decided we would do a choral reading. Did anybody know choral reading? And we would do the Christmas story, and we're in the same country, shepherds abiding in the fields, and then going on to Matthew with the wise men. And the people in the community had never heard such a thing. And that was such a big hit. Talked and talked and talked about it. Wasn't such a big deal for me, but they thought it was a big thing.
It'll be different.
And you get the whole community out to see what was going on, and then the stories would pass.
Right.
Wonderful.
Well, I was in Fallbrook, and the first year or 2 I was there, we did a concert in the Orange Hall right across the road from the school. And we used to just all go. We took our books. We'd go in the morning, pick up the books that we needed, and we would just move across the road to the hall and do our work and our practicing and everything. And one morning while we were there, the dog came at the door, and Mr. Barber walked in. And he had the reputation of not being too much in favor of Christmas concerts, but we got away with it anyway. And then that hall was just like a barn. It became too small. We moved down the hill to the Orange Hall, where again we did the same thing. We were further from the school, so we did take our books and we used to go down there and find the fire practice there. But I mean, in Fallbrook, the concerts were a big deal. I mean, the teachers before me had put on big presentations, so you had to follow up.
The precedent had been set.
Yes, it had been. But we had a good group to work with, and the students could pretty well carry it themselves. You just had to go with the flow.
And of course, if the excitement was there from them, they were probably doing their best.
Oh, they were.
Did you have a lot of support from the parents as well? Or?
Very much, yes.
Did you?
Of course, it was a very supportive community. I mean, you lived right in it, and you became part of the community.
Absolutely.
Good.
In my first school, we didn't have a stage, but I had older boys who were rather big and strong and from the farm. And so they built the stage. They brought in the lumber and they built the stage for our concert. And then we put up the wire across, and the girls have brought in the sheets, and we used the pins, and we made our own stage. And I know the concert was successful, although I don't remember what we did at it, but I do remember those boys, and they felt so proud as they were building the stage. And then of course it had to be dismantled afterwards and taken away, but that wasn't a problem. They did it without any ado. It was good. And then in my second school, we went down to the municipal hall, which was a short walk for us. But we never took our books down. We just we had to do all our work first, and then we went down and practiced at the end of the day.
We could mix and match.
But you're right, there was a lot of pressure.
Oh, yes.
It was a big affair.
Did you buy candy and fill all the little brown
yes.
paper bags?
Yes.
So that every child would get something from Santa?
Santa Claus.
The younger children of the community too, you bought for them as well.
That's right, the little brothers and sisters.
Now, how would Santa make his entrance? If he was giving, was he part of the concert, or would
At
he
the
just
end.
make a visit
At
after?
the end.
At the end.
At the end.
I really can't remember anything different. I think it's all been said. Yeah.
Yes, I'm thinking that too, that everything is what all the concerts were like.
Well, pretty much the same.
They were pretty much the same.
Well, if anything else comes up, you can just mention. Maybe I'll start and go back this way with the next topic, and then you can be the first one to give your ideas. Okay, now I think one of the things that Claudia was interested in is if you were in a community that you didn't come from, did you board at particular homes? And she wants to know more of the ideas of gentlemen callers. And one of the groups that I was talking to earlier said when you left Teachers College, they said absolutely be careful with the gentlemen callers. If you're going out, don't go out in the same community where you're living and things like that. So I think Claudia would like some of those ideas as well. So do you have anything that, did you live in the same community?
I did, but I boarded. I guess I'd my gentlemen callers on the weekend, I think. I don't remember them coming any
So it wasn't
during
a problem?
the week. It wasn't a problem. I think you weren't expected to go out during the week, though.
Just do schoolwork, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think you were pretty much on your own. There was
there wasn't
no regulations.
There wasn't any problem
regulation.
in the community?
No.
Oh, I see. So it must have been different communities then. Did you?
No problem.
None.
No, I came to a completely new area. I'd never been in this area at all. And stayed with the family, and as I said, became part of that family. The little girl there was my junior bridesmaid when I got married. I married a guy from the community, and there were no problems.
Goodness sake.
Well, I stayed with two unmarried ladies, elderly ladies, and their bachelor brother. And my callers were well screened. But I liked someone from outside the community, and I'm afraid they weren't too happy about that.
And they let you know that?
Yeah, but it didn't become a problem, but I knew that there was a letter in the mail, or if he came, wasn't... They didn't smile upon it. It was rather frowned upon. Yeah.
Now, one group mentioned that one of the things that they did, that it wasn't uncommon to be invited home and stay with a family during the school year. Did you people have any experience with that?
Well, I did
Just
for
invited
supper.
to supper.
Supper. And that was a common occurrence?
Right,
Yes.
every
Yeah.
family
But
had
not
to
most
work.
Every family.
Really, invited you for dinner?
Yeah.
Throughout the year. Oh, and it was just a social?
Yes.
Or sometimes to go along with them to a different event or something.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Oh,
come
I
along.
see. Good. Okay, now another thing that she wants us to talk about is traveling to school. Were most of you in a community close enough to walk? Or I guess she wants to know whether you would go on a bicycle, as we saw over there, or a wagon ride, or anything like that. How did you? You walked?
Boarding close enough that I
You were
walked.
close enough. Okay.
Yeah, I walked. The school was right across the road.
Same for you.
I think I hear rain.
Yeah.
Somebody was
Great.
saying they would like rain.
Did you walk?
I
as well?
walked,
You were in
yes,
the
until I got a car.
Oh,
Yes.
and you walked as
Either way.
well. So pretty well everyone. Okay. Now, what about school fairs? Do you have any such thing? And some people were mentioning in the month of September whether it was actually a school fair and they had artwork that was in for competition. Did you have anything to do with school fairs?
Well, I think it was sent to the fair here at Middledale, not right in the community I was in.
Oh, I see.
The one school I was in, their work would be sent here to them.
And what kinds of things now would you send?
Well, writing,
Writing?
Yes,
Right.
writing all handwriting.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
penmanship, yes. That was-
And would that be judged?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And put up on the board. That still is.
It still is.
Here, Linda,
You get
there.
asked to judge at these fairs.
Oh,
I've
there's
judged
a fair?
Right
I'm
there.
not going, oh, there's a fair. But the surrounding schools and still take part in that?
Some of them do.
I'm not.
They do in Elmont too.
Oh, yes.
We've had to do in Perth Fair for several times.
So it's handwriting and what else?
Crafts, and there was something made out of wood. The boys did. I remember it was I had to make a, what do you call it? Just to hold up a window, you know, stick down and like this, to hold the windows up, and then they painted it and decorated it, and they were judged. And the girls had to do some kind of knitting or sewing. You know, it would be listed in the book.
It's different each year.
Oh,
It was in the fair book, the same as it is still, what the children were to do. And then I remember the big project for the school was to show a beaver, what do you call it, colony? Beaver. So you had to build gather up the mud and the sticks and the beaver dam, beaver lodge. That's right. Yeah, and that was the project that the whole school was to do and to take and present
Oh my
and be
goodness.
judged.
Oh, we still do.
And then the children all went to the fair?
Oh,
Did they
yes.
have a day that
Day
they...
off.
But we used to have a different type of school fair where you all just went to another school. Because we used to make
Yes, some-
banners and everybody, everybody dressed the same and they wore their sash. And
I know some, I've read about it,
I have
but
pictures back.
I don't remember that.
And what did they do now?
There used to be competitions. I remember that. Well, races and all that type of thing. And I remember every school had their own banner. Because I remember we had Fallbrook and we had the tree falling and the brook and the beaver on it. And that was our banner that we carried. And then everybody had a sash on and they all dressed alike. And we used to go to Harper School every year for our field day or our fair or whatever you want
And
to
did you
call
have
it.
a school cheer as well?
I found a picture when I was going through old pictures of a girl, one of the girls who is, an adult now, but anyway, she was all dressed up as a cheerleader. So I thought from that we must have had a cheer. I can't remember doing it, but it says Brenda Thompson as cheerleader, so.
So it must have been.
Must have been,
Did you have a
right?
similar experience at the school fairs? Or?
No, we only had them once in the 3 years that I taught, and it was in Pakenham, and it was in the spring. And all I can remember taking is one of the boys, who was sometimes a problem, knit a dishcloth. One of the boys knit a dishcloth. I can't remember whether we got any prizes or
Did you teach him to knit?
No, I must have.
Oh my.
I must have. But I think that the girls had sewing, like sewing aprons and things like that, didn't they? But it would be all by hand.
I remember
Embroidery.
a square dance competition at McDonald's Corners Fair one year. Because I remember teaching the kids how to square dance and then taking them up there to compete at a square dance competition.
really?
At the school part of the McDonald's Corners Fair.
So what about you? Did you take part in these school fairs as well?
Yes, we did. I did artwork and they took there was a class for flowers and vegetables. The children they brought in their little bouquets.
Did they
Yes.
really?
Oh, yes.
And then you send them off and submit them to the
Yes.
fair board?
Yes.
Oh.
We used to bake. We used to do the best chocolate cake baked by a boy. The best cake baked by a girl.
Oh, goodness. Did you have any of those kind of...
Well, I did, but that was in the recent years with when I was in Carenbeck School and we were participating in Elmont Fair, but not at first. I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
No, not until Carenbeck. Well, these fairs you're talking about are not school fairs, they're local fairs.
Yes, yeah, that's
They're
the
local
only fair
fairs.
that.
But they used to have just
Yes.
for
That's
schools.
the one I was talking
I know.
about. Was the banner.
No, I
Yes.
never.
No, that stopped. That was just a school fair. We all just
Yes.
went to one
Yes.
school.
Was the baking the chocolate cake, was that just the school
No,
fair?
that was a local fair.
A local fair. So then that would be submitted by just any boy that his parent wanted to submit the chocolate
Yeah,
cake, or would the school handle it?
I can't remember. It must have just been them themselves. I don't know. I can't remember collecting them at school, but things you forget.
A lot of things.
A lot of things. A lot of things have been brought up here today that you suddenly remember. Oh yes.
That's right, that you'd be part of.
Right.
The parents would have to provide the transportation because I didn't have a car. I didn't have any way of getting places.
How did the children come to school?
They walked.
Walk? Okay, so there wouldn't be school buses?
There was no bicycle.
No, so
This-
bicycle?
Or bicycle.
Yeah.
The school buses would have come in when the schools in Elgin.
Yes, but when there were larger or longer distances to the schools?
I can't even remember taking a bus on a field trip. It would be the parents who would provide transportation.
Now, when you're talking about field trips, where would you go for a field trip?
We went into Ottawa. I remember taking them down to the RC.
Occasion, and then you'll have more chance to
Terribly
visit. I'm Linda Scott, and this is my husband Rich. I'm still teaching. I've taught for 25, and he taught for 35, and he's retired. And we're certainly looking forward to the social aspect of teaching, concerts, and things like that.
Hadn't been mentioned.
Oh, he did. Okay, so I think we'll start out first. Maybe if each person can take about a minute and give us, or a minute and a half, give us your fondest recollections of your concerts or special plays, things that went on in your school. Would you like to start?
Well, I can remember doing an afternoon concert at Belgrade. I remember having a Halloween party in the afternoon too, and all the parents came. And at Drummond Center, we had an evening concert, and the adults in the community put on a play. That was about
The adults put the play on for the children or for the community?
for the community,
Oh, I see.
along with the kids doing their, whatever. That was a little added bonus.
I guess so.
But you were expected to have a Christmas
yes.
concert.
Mhm.
That's the end thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you have the...
Well, yeah, you had to have one. It came with the territory. But I don't really have any strong memories about it other than the kids certainly enjoyed participating in the Christmas concert. I'm a bit of a novice as a teacher because I only taught for 2 years, so I'm not the best person to be talking about it, but I do remember it was the highlight of both of the years that I taught school. The kids did enjoy it a lot.
So you certainly weren't going to away without doing it. If the children wanted it, you would be
I don't
doing
think you'd dare go into a rural school
No.
teach for a year without having your Christmas annual concert at Christmas time.
Oh yes, I taught in Clayton Village, and we had the hall there, so we could take the Christmas concert to that, and it was a big thing. The hall would be plugged with people.
And what kind of things would you do in your
Oh,
concert?
recitations and dialogues and monologues and choruses and choral reading and music, duets and all kinds of and you didn't dare leave out anybody. Everybody
No.
had to be included.
Every child was
Every
in it.
child had to be included.
It'd be the same thing year after year too. I mean, it was.
Well, yeah, but the older ones graduated,
Yeah,
and the younger
yeah.
ones came ahead, and there'd
Yeah.
be something different. And I remember one of the parents walked out, Mrs. Herbie Rath, walked out, she was hardly able to walk, to practice in the afternoons on the old organ in the school for their choruses and everything. You know, and we also had Halloween parties, and the parents come and the refreshments after in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And Valentine's was the same.
Yeah.
And what would you do at Halloween parties?
Oh, the same thing, recitations and dialogues and plays and games, and then we'd have these refreshments after, and the kids would dress up in costume, and for Valentine's, everybody gave somebody a Valentine, and we'd have a box social, and no, it was a great time.
Absolutely.
The teacher was played out after Christmas concert, I can tell you that.
Yes.
Just hoping everybody would do the right thing.
Oh, it would be exhausting.
Oh.
Much the same.
Yeah.
I think we had a square dance at one of our concerts.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Other than that,
Kenny Pemmon played the violin.
Yeah.
And Wellington played the guitar, did he? Wellington Monroe?
I don't know.
I think so.
Yes, when I was at Gilbrace School, we had it in the afternoon too. There were some children couldn't come at night, so we had it in the afternoon. We pulled all the shades down, put on the lights. And everybody in the section was there, I'm sure. And I figure that the children learn as much when they were practicing for a concert or the like of that. It was worth all the impromptu oral compositions or anything else. It provided training for future life.
I suppose.
It wasn't just they just loved it, and it gave them a side to education that would last them through all their lives. And it was,
that was a big thing. Yeah.
we always had a Christmas concert, no matter where it happened. And Halloween. Oh, I'll never forget the first Halloween party. I was pedaling away on that old organ, and all of a sudden, one pump went. A mouse had got in and broken the web.
Oh, no.
Oh! And everybody in the section was there, so I pumped like crazy with the other foot, and we saw through.
The same sorts of things, but there was one concert where my mother had made rooster costumes for the kids, and they were in a drill. And one little fellow who was very much a mischief, he wasn't paying attention and he fell off the end of the platform. So the parents thought it was part of the act. So they saved the day.
Just the same as the rest.
Much the same. I did one thing here at Middlewood too. I had an open night, mostly every year, and we displayed the work that they've done during the year, and everybody had something up, and they put something on their desk with their name and so on. That really went very well. The parents were very happy about that.
Trendsetter, Doris.
Yeah.
You were a trendsetter.
It was the first time I'd tried, but it really went well. The parents liked it better than anything they'd ever heard. They
Maybe
got
where
seeing the
Meet the
work.
Teacher
Yeah,
nights came
that
from.
really took off.
Oh, it did.
Yes, I tried that too when
It really worked here.
and the parents
There was
really
good
enjoyed
parents,
seeing what the
marvelous
children were
parents
doing.
in this little village.
So then you would do that every year after
Yes,
that, did you?
well, I started, I did it. It was a little different each year, you know, something a bit different, whatever it is. I just forget some of the things we did, but I remember different ones. And I met the parents, you see, both parents would come. It was just like, we enjoyed it. I think sometimes the music teacher used to come. Yeah, music teacher.
Did you participate in school fairs or what? Were there any such things?
Yes.
Yes?
Oh, yes.
Do you have any memories about school fairs or?
Well, the Middleville Fair, we took part in Middleville Fair.
And what kind of things would the schools
Well, the school
send
fairs
in?
went out then, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
like
did
when we were
printing.
in school.
Did
And
printing
for school.
when I was in
We used to go to Almont Fairgrounds when I was in public school, but that must have gone out about the time we started to teach, eh? I think
The
it must
school-
have.
School fairs. I took part in those school fairs,
banner.
and it was after that they died.
Yeah.
Sometime, I don't know
There
when.
was a banner there, yeah.
I may as well remember.
But the kids took their handwork and everything, and then they'd races and games and all kinds of things.
So all the schools in the surrounding area would go, was that?
Yeah.
And you said you made a flag or a?
Well, yes.
What else?
Banner.
SS
A
10
banner.
another banner.
Yes, that's right.
So was it marching or what else?
Yes.
Yes, I think we
Remember.
marched with it.
And did you
A
have
couple of
cheers to
kids
go
held
with
up the
it? or-
cheers and things.
Yes.
Yeah,
You
I
had
think
cheers
so.
too?
Yeah. SS number 12, here we go. Are we in it? No, we're not. We're not in it. We're on top. That was ours.
Oh, you'll have to say that again so we pick that up on the camcorder. Let's hear that.
You have to record that one
Yes,
again.
go
there.
ahead,
We
do
got
that
one other one earlier.
SS number 12, here we go. We're not in it. We're on top.
Oh, wouldn't the kids love that? Oh, my goodness sakes.
Yes, and there was a drill too at the school fair.
Yeah.
Banners and drill you went through.
Like a marching type drill? Or?
Yes, yeah. And of course there were all the calves and there was and quilts and handwork, crocheting, bread making.
Now, did you teach the children to do the?
I
like the
didn't. This was
crocheting and
me
knitting, or-
doing it. This was when I was in it.
Oh, I see.
And I don't know when it stopped, but it was a great education. That is, that the children did it. I'll never forget the one time I was at the fair, and my brothers always took off. One would take first and the other second for their bread. And one day they went home for lunch. And of course the kids at school thought, huh, they don't do that, it's Mrs. Gardner. So here were the two lads covered in flour to their elbows, kneading down their bread. They just swallowed their lunch. And we looked out the window, and here was a whole string of kids running in by the cedars to see it. Making the surprise of their life. Roy and Lauren were making the bread all right. But at the fair, I was yay high, and I happened to stand in, just be peeking in like this between two women that were admiring some of the goods on in the display. And one said, I can't understand it. You know, my two girls, now the one got, I forget whether it was second or fourth or something like that, and the other got something with one or two prizes down the line. He said, I can't understand it. I made that all from the same batch. Around our house, you didn't do that. If you took something to the fair, you did the work. I remember sitting in the swing way up the edge of Keith Sims Bush and crocheting little doilies. And my sister was an expert crocheter. And I knew I'd made a mistake. So I'd run down to the house and get Ethel to tell me what was wrong. She might pull out the mess that I'd made, and she'd tell me how to do it. But I put every stitch in there. It wasn't her that you just didn't. But I couldn't, I'd never forget that. I don't know how it is. So-and-so, it all came from same, I made all from the same batch.
Well, I think we're going to try, one of the things that Claudia wanted us to try and find out was your favorite memory as a student in school. So now forget about being the teacher. Think about your own school days and what would have been your favorite memory of you going to school. I'll just give you some time and then I'll start. Was it the concerts that you were in, or was it the fairs you attended, or maybe getting things ready for the fair, or just think about going to school yourself. Because you just had that one wonderful idea about getting your things ready, and Claudia had thought it'd be nice to hear some of your school memories of your own school days. So, do you have anything or anything come to mind, Jeff?
Blank.
Okay, well,
it's called the seniors moment.
Oh, okay.
Actually, most of the things that I remember most with them, great enjoyment when I was in school was if I had won anything in athletics, like a track meet or a football game or whatever. That's where I got most of my high joy when I was going to school.
Great.
Athletics.
Okay.
It wasn't academic.
No.
I don't know why they hired me to go out and teach school.
Well, this isn't academic either, but I remember getting sick. I was just in grade 1. I got sick one day at school, and one of the grade 8 students walked home with me about a mile. Took me home.
Oh,
that was
imagine that you would remember that to this day.
Yeah.
Made quite an impression.
Wow, that's a nice memory.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah. I always, and she's still living too.
Really?
Oh, the concerts, I think, were a big thing. And a spelling bee, because I was a good speller, and so I relished those.
Oh, I guess so. So was that a regular occurrence then in your school?
I think quite often. And then we used to have a geography match too, where you gave the name of a place, and the next person had to give the name of a place starting with the last letter of the name you had given. I did that sometimes with my own children in the car.
To put in a few hours. Great. Do you have anything you'd like to, did anything come to your mind?
Oh, I never really enjoyed public school. That's all the truth.
It's not.
No, I didn't. My sister always, I always left talking to her, and she always told everybody how much I enjoyed it and everything. I never said a word. But I did enjoy the geography lessons and the grammar lessons. And today, I'd love to take my red pencil and go through the newspapers.
Yes.
Spelling. And the other day I heard on the radio a man talking about the Canadian spelling being far too difficult. We should, forty should be F-O-U-R-T-Y. That's the way he always thought of it. And we should simplify the Canadian spelling. I thought, well, if we're Canadian, let us be Canadians. We have to take everything the Americans dish up to us. I'm expecting NITE to be acclaimed as correct.
Anytime soon. Right? Okay. Do you have anything that you'd like to share?
Do you know that use is Gaelic for you? That's why we go around with this use business.
Is that right? I didn't know that. Because a
It's
lot
a,
of people
it's a
use it.
Gaelic language for you.
Really?
And that's why it came from this area. Use, because the grandparents or great-grandparents were still speaking Gaelic.
Oh, I
And
see.
saying
Heard
use.
that
That's
before.
explanatory.
Yeah. And that's why we picked up the word use.
We've got justification now.
Yes.
Oh, my
It's our
goodness.
language.
Just say it's
I've
for
heard that
Gaelic.
before.
That's why we say use.
Really? But a lot of people say it.
Well,
Correct.
it's
Get
from
up to
the
make
Gaelic.
a speech or something at a meeting or that. Let's use this.
And they're not Gaelic.
No, they haven't got that kind of a...
No.
Okay, you were just about to say something. Would
Oh,
you like to share?
it's not in the classroom, but one teacher who was a great sport, and she used to take us sleigh riding at noon, and then in my time, you always had the teacher home. So when she came home, we even crossed the Mississippi and slid down hills that seem now quite a piece away, but she was a really good sport. I think I remember her maybe as much as anything. There were some down things I didn't like about a school day, so I won't go into those.
That was a positive.
That was a positive.
Okay.
I think the Christmas concert.
Absolutely. Any particular part or just in general?
I guess the practicing and the friendship and things we had in our little school.
I used to like Friday afternoons because we did, the last period, we did something different just about every, from 3 to 4.
Junior Red Cross meetings.
Well, just different things in the country schools, you know. Sometimes there was a spelling bee, and sometimes there was geography, and sometimes it was math. We did mental arithmetic, and the teacher gave it out, and whoever could get the answer first, you know, the right answer. And of course, you learned some quick ways of doing some math. It was good. And I also liked, we had a gentleman teacher. I had him for my last 2 years in school, and he was an excellent teacher. He did a lot of things with us, and he played with us, played ball, you know, we like that. The lady teachers aren't great, but those days didn't play so much. We liked it very much. But it was a wonderful year. There were just the 3 of us in grade 8, and we had a very successful year, all of us. We gave him the credit.
My goodness. No, what
He
was...
became a principal.
Oh.
He was principal at Pembroke for several years.
Oh. What would have been your, when you were saying size of class, what would have been your largest size of class that you taught?
First year I had 11 kids.
Size of class.
The biggest grade, there were 3 in the largest number. I'd have to look mine up, but I had 22 children, and I couldn't tell you right now off the top of my head how many were in each class, unless I read my piece of
Oh,
paper
right,
here.
but just total, like you had 23 altogether?
I had 22 altogether.
And that would have been your largest
1,
group?
2, 3, 4. I had 5 in grade 1. I had 3 in grade 2. I had 4 in grade 3.
I had 4 in grade 4, and I didn't have any grade 5. And I had 2 in grade 6, 3 in 7, and 2 in 8. That was my distribution. But I couldn't have told you that myself.
Oh my goodness. Now how would your day, oh sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Oh, no, how would your day have started? Like you would have gone to the grade 1s first and got them busy, or would you have started with the grade 8s
Don't
first?
ask me a question.
Get to work,
Get
kids.
them all working, doing something.
Actually, they were talking earlier about, you know, a teacher or two that didn't make it and got fired. I'm really quite amazed, or would be amazed, if in fact there weren't a lot of people that got, and surely they had to have had a problem getting them trained and with the kind of expertise that was required to. There must have been some that just didn't make it after that first year.
Well, it's like being a parent. You parent the way you were parented, and I think we began to teach the way we were taught. I can remember one obstreperous class I had in Glashan in Ottawa, which is a big downtown school, full of bad kids. And I had a plan where every Friday afternoon I would not speak to the kids at all. And I wrote everything on the board, and they had to read and follow directions, and I called it Friday Afternoon in the Rural School. And they just went, they had to read what group they were in, and they had to follow directions. And it settled them down a great deal. Because by Friday afternoon, they were...
That was a good plan. Yeah.
Absolutely. Probably wouldn't hurt for some of today's classes as well. No, did you want to?
Anyway, that's the end. I think we won't. It's too hot, and we'll just go and have some refreshments and leave the last one off.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is there any help that you need from here?
No,
for us?
just people can just go in and
Inside? Okay.
yeah, it'll be cooler in there, and food, and there's tea, but I don't know if anybody wants tea or coffee. But there's lemonade and water. And
Very good.
Lovely. Well, thank you very, very much. Thank you so much for coming. We've certainly enjoyed hearing your ideas, and hopefully we'll have a chance while we're having some tea or whatever to hear some more. Thank you so much.
Thank you, people.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's nice work.
Out of curiosity, did you ever plant trees from Gilbreth?
Yes.
Where did you
I guess
plant
I
them?
should have said. Over here. Folktown.
Yes,
The other side of Folktown.
I
Brown.
went to James's school. Yes, we went. But I didn't.
Was it Brown?
Yeah, I'd like to see how much they've grown.
I couldn't
I
find
imagine
it.
it.
I remember the kids from Galbraith.
Yeah, I think maybe the whole township was spelling.
Yeah, I think we all